The Draconians, November 5, 2008. The appearance and physicality of the Draconians. Photos are at the end of section 2. The Draconians' hide was as tough and relentless as the very nature of the Draconians themselves, and it is of the image and likeness of the Draconian race that the crocodile, currently in its very designed manifestation, was created. Therefore, the Draconian's hide as scales was similar to that of the crocodile's hide as scales of this world. The color of the Draconian's hide was oxblood red, dark brown with a very slight hint of mustard yellow and dark green, though not as prominent as the red and brown that was the manifested coloring of their entire hide. Their entire manifested physique was extremely muscularly massive, bulky and bulging as the epitome of the manifested presence of strength, authority and power, that leaves other races preferring not to mingle or become acquainted with the Draconian race, and thus the Draconians were left to themselves, isolated from most of existence except for the other reptilian race as the Anunnaki, with which the Draconian race had a reasonably close agreed-upon relationship. Their eyes were piercingly intense and menacing, with detection of contained madness and fury, yet at the same time their presence was composed and serene. The color of their eyes was the mustard yellow and dark green with a hint of red and brown, with the colors constantly moving as though their eyes in itself was alive. When looking into their eyes, you'd expect them to do you harm any second, so unpredictable and confusing was their nature of menacingly madness and fury together with a serene and calm composure, that one never could say where you stand with them. The particular mark of the Draconian race was their horn emblem embodied within end of their physical, manifested as the Draconian birthmark signature consisting of sharp, small horn ridges. The particular mark of reptilian races, the Draconians and the Anunnaki, was the horned ridge manifestation that ran within the center of their head region, the mark of the beasts of existence, so to speak, as the reptilian races are the silently accepted and allowed agreed upon by all in existence to be the dominant races within existence that had the primary hand of control. The horns protruding from within the Draconian's head region as expressed in the drawing, is an example of a Draconian royal. Such Draconians were birthed with horns and exalted as royalty, as they were seen as the incarnations of the Draconians' forefathers and lived within the royal grounds of their planet, as the Draconian race did consist of and exist as hierarchies. Those that were of royalty were born with horns protruding from within the back of their head region. Those of normal birth did not have horns. They wore a dress coat with belt, and upon the belt was adorned with their horn emblem as the signature of their race and identification, honoring their existence as Draconians defined. The Draconian race were only of one gender. They were not distinguished or defined according to male or female. The reason for this will be discussed later in this document. The Draconians were between 12 to 14 foot tall. The nature of the Draconians. The Draconians emanated a silent dominance presence within existence, which resonated from within their physical appearance. Even though they resonated an aura and presence of viciousness and unmerciful, relentless fury as expressed through their eyes and physical appearance, they remained a quiet, unseen isolated race within existence. With their presence so deliberately set within existence, they preferred not to entertain or occupy themselves with other races within existence, as the Draconians experienced other races to be inferior to them as well as being a liable nuisance. The Draconians were one of the ancient original races and were thus one of the most believed clever and wise races within existence. The Draconians were the alchemists and scientists of existence and explored with the evolution of biology of all races within existence. This was what they primarily busied themselves with throughout their existence, discovering methods and ways of evolving the interdimensionally physical presence of races within existence, including that of themselves. Therefore, they were very specific, meticulous and precise with all that they expressed themselves within as their investigations and explorations of the manifested existence of races and primarily focused on DNA designs. The planet and civilization of the Draconians. The Draconians' hide was the exact color of their planet, which is primarily various colorations of reds and browns with their atmosphere of black and dark gray smoke, similar to that of volcanoes erupting as the black smoke rise from within the volcano. This smoke was the manifested atmosphere of the Draconians' planet within which they existed, that constantly, continuously churned and moved as though thousands of volcanoes were erupting simultaneously. A Draconian's lifespan varied between 5,000 to 35,000 years and would simply decompose entirely and merge once again with their planet. 1,000 years after a Draconian's death is returned to its origin as its planet, another Draconian is birthed of the planet and literally stands up from within the planet fully grown as presented for example within the sketch. Each new coming is honored as all Draconians gather to welcome the newborn Draconian that has risen from within the planet itself and have a ritual of praise and worship to the stars which they believed was their forefathers, manifested, ever present. And it is from the stars that their forefathers return to the planet to reincarnate once more. Thus each newborn is honored equally to all other Draconians as all Draconians believe themselves to be reincarnation of gods, as the forefathers that are the origin of their existence. Their planet's surface consisted of and existed as rock formations and mountains, the exact color as that of the Draconian's hide. The Draconian royals as those that are birthed with horns protruding from within their head region lived within the mountains within beautifully magnificent establishments designed and created by themselves. I'd say they were the most esteemed interior decorators of existence, lol. The other Draconians lived on the surface of the planet in homes and establishments built by themselves for themselves, each one existing within their own individual settlement. No two Draconians lived or existed together. This was so enforced within the Draconian race, which I will explain in a moment within the history of the Draconian race. They did rest occasionally. And it is purely for resting purposes that their individual settlements existed. There existed one massive establishment in the exact center of their planet within which they conducted their experiments as their specialty of exploring with all other races' DNA and creating and manifesting hybrids, so to speak, through evolving the DNA design of their own race and that of other races in existence. Analyzing the DNA of other races was possible due to the Draconians' forefathers literally kidnapping elderly beings of other races, placing them in containments within which they are preserved for future experiments. The kidnappings were done without any other race's knowledge due to the races believing that those that disappeared passed on to the stars or returned to the stars, meaning that they died, when all the while they were deliberately taken by the Draconians to further their scientific research of existence's origin and exploring the very existence of races within existence as all that they exist as and consist of. The Draconians had a manifested being sample of each race within existence, which they utilized to conduct their ever-evolving experiments. The document will continue in the next video, section 2 of 2.